Welcome to Rita's Paper Motif. Today I wanted to share with you what I call the Happy Ladybug, and that's a takeoff on the Grouchy Ladybug, which was written by a well-known children's author, and the book that he wrote was The Grouchy Ladybug. But my ladybug that I'm going to share with you today is Happy. So before we get started, I wanted to just introduce myself. I am Rita with Rita's Paper Motif. I'm coming to you from northern Nevada here in the United States. And just before we get started, and so I don't forget and I don't have to think about it throughout this time that I'm sharing with you, if you're interested in more content that I share, then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And then also, if you want to be notified when I have more or new content, then just go ahead and hit that bell icon. Now also, it's always nice to know where you're watching from. So when you watch my video, I'd be ever so happy if you would go ahead and in the comment section just let me know where you're watching from. And then if you have any questions about anything that I share today, go ahead and put those in the comment section too. I do check back to look at your comments, and then I'd be more than happy to answer anything, or even if you want to share something you've done with the product, then that's great too. So let's go ahead and get started. So also know that you can, just interjecting here, you can also follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and also on Facebook. So what I wanted to share with you today is this card I made, and I'm calling it the Happy Ladybug. Obviously it says hello, but my ladybug is happy. And so I made this card using the stamp set from Stampin' Up. So obviously I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I use their product. It's a great product. It's sturdy, and what I really like about Stampin' Up is everything that is in their product line as far as stamps, ink, and paper, they all coordinate together. So that's just a wonderful thing. But this is the stamp set that I used today, except for the Hello greeting. The Hello greeting that I used here is from the paper pumpkin. That would be the April paper pumpkin. And so I do like to use those stamps just if it's something that I wanted to, that I liked and I was attracted to and I wanted to use it. And then also inside the sentiment that I have here is you're every bit of wonderful. And that sentiment comes from the Celebrating You. So I just wanted to share those with you. Now let's go ahead and make a card together so you can see how I did that. Now we're going to begin with, I took an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. This is Rio Red. I cut it in half, and so that would this would be 5.5, correct? And then I just rotated it and scored it in the middle of that half sheet or half piece of the 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And then when you score it and then just fold it and secure it, it gives you that nice fold. And so as you can tell, this is going to be an A2 size card, which most of my cards are, although I'm really liking the slim lines. But anyway, this is an A2 size card, and if you don't have a trimmer, I just want to let you know the trimmer that I use is, of course, Stampin' Up. And what's nice about it is it has two blades, and these blades go up and down. The dark blade is the cutting blade, and the light blade is the scoring blade. So you have everything in one tool, so you don't have to have one to cut and one to score. They're all here. The other nice thing is that this plastic piece also has a ruler on it, and I know it's hard to see in the video, but it does help with the cutting and the scoring. It also has measurements at the top, at the middle, and at the bottom. So if you put your paper in here, now I've already done this, of course, and it's flush with this top part right here, then you're sure to get a straight cut or score. And then of course you have all these lines to guide you. So it's a great tool. Now if you don't have one and you're interested, of course, just go to ritaspapermotif.com, click shop now, and then you can get your trimmer. We call that a trimmer, but it does also score for you. All right, so let's go ahead. What I want to do is, this is obviously going to be the outside and this is the inside. So I want to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card. Now, because it's red, it would be very hard, or I like to go ahead and put a white insert here so that I can see any message that I might write. And then also the inside sentiment is more visible. So let's go ahead and stamp that sentiment. And we're going to use the sentiment, like I said, is "You're every bit wonderful" from the Celebrating You. I'm going to do that in black ink. So we're going to use our Memento ink. It's a black tuxedo Memento. And I'm going to ink up my stamp. Excuse me. When I'm sure that I have it inked up, I am going to stamp it though first on a piece of scrap paper because I want to make sure that I did get it all inked up. Sometimes when these stamps are new, it's quite easy to not get it completely inked. So let's go ahead. We're going to put it right here at the bottom. I'm going to try and get it as straight as I can. And then we're just going to go ahead and press. And so this is stamped for the inside now. And then we're going to clean off our stamp. That's really important because if you put it away without cleaning it, then chances are if you go to use that stamp again, you may forget what color you had in there. And then here's another thing. As you can see, I have some trails of ink, so I don't want that. So I can turn my cardstock around because I want a clean stamp. I don't want to leave trails. Now that could have come from my fingers. Yes, it did. So I put my fingertips in the ink, and that's where that ink is coming from. So again, we are going to make sure that it's going to stamp, and I'm going to pull it down so I can see a little bit better without getting my head in the camera. And we're going to go ahead and stamp it. And so I like that stamp. We're going to put it to the side to dry while we go ahead and work on another part of our card. So as you can see in this card that I had already made, is I have a yellow layer here, and it is a print. Now the layer that I'm going to use with the card we're making is slightly different because this was part of a designer series or a package of designer series paper, and I used the opposite side, and that's what you'll find with our designer series paper. So on this one, you can see that one side was tulips, and on the other side is like a yellow. It's got like text in it. It's very faint, and you really can't read it. But I'm going to use this just because I don't have another piece of this. But let's go ahead and do that. Now, the front part, I better close this ink pad that I have there. Now, the front of our card, as I was saying, is 4.5 by 5 and 4 1/4 by 5.5. So when I cut this layer, I cut that layer just 1/4 of an inch shorter on each side. So that will give me a little bit of a margin. So then of course that would make this layer 4 by 5.5. So if you wanted to write those measurements down, you can. You can also go to Rita's Paper Motif, and by the end of the day you should see that posted, and you can just get your measurements there. So I am going to use my Stamp and Seal. Now this is the Stamp and Seal Plus. This is the adhesive. This is my favorite adhesive, and the reason I like it is because not only is it strong, but it's not messy. What I find that is frustrating is to have an adhesive that when you get on your hands, you got a mess, right? Okay, so I went ahead and adhered that layer down. Now, what I want to also do is I also have a sentiment that I wanted to put right here in the middle. And so what I did is I took my layering circles, and I took, this is the largest one, and I cut it out of red cardstock. Now, this particular die, I did say dies, right? My layering circle dies. This die has a scallop edge. There are, in the layering circle dies, there is another die that is this size that doesn't have the scallop, but I chose the scallop. And then I took a just smaller of the circle dies, and I cut out a piece of white. And I did that ahead of time just to save on time. And so we're going to go ahead and put these together. Now I'm not going to put it on the card just yet. Oh, and no, I can do it. So what I should have done is I should have went ahead and stamped this white cardstock before I put it on the red, because now if I mess up my stamp, I can't turn it over. So let's go ahead and stamp this again. Now this, I'm using obviously the Hello stamp from the April Paper Pumpkin. We're going to go ahead and ink up this Hello. I like it. I like this Hello stamp because it's nice and big, and it's going to stamp nicely. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we want to get this a little at the top of the circle, but definitely in kind of center it at the top, I should say. So I'm going to bring it down, so forgive me because I really can't see that far up, and I don't want to get my head in the camera range. Okay, so we have the Hello stamp, and so we're finished with that. We're going to go ahead and close up our memento. Now, something else I wanted to show you is that when you are purchasing the stamp set, the Hello Ladybug stamp set, you also have the option to purchase it in a bundle. Now, when you purchase in a bundle, you would get a discount, so it's about 10%. So with that bundle, in that bundle, you would get this punch. Now this punch is perfect because it's what you can use to create this ladybug. So you see I punched out this part out of black, and then this part out of red. I'll go ahead and punch the red for you because I wanted to show you something. When you're doing different colors, you would want to put your black, I'm sorry, I have to change hands. You'd want to put your black here so that you don't have this cut and waste the black paper, right? But when you're cutting the wings, you would just change it up, and then you would have a set of wings here. So I've already done that just to save on time, but I did want to show you. Punches are so wonderful because here's the thing about the punch. If you were thinking you wanted to do, let's see here. let's think that we may want to make a rabbit for Easter. So if we go ahead, let's go ahead and cut this ladybug. Now you're thinking, whoa, that's a ladybug. Yes, it is, but let's look and see what we can do here. And I'm deviating a little bit here because I want to show you how great these punches can be. And so I'm just going to kind of go around here and finish this. And I did want it to be a little bit square. Now, obviously I'm creating a little mess here, aren't I? But we're also going to take the wing part of that punch, and I bet you're figuring out what I'm doing, didn't you? We're going to go ahead and cut some, what would have been the wings, and now what we have are the ears for the bunny. And then you could go ahead and also cut some pink or whatever you wanted to do to put in the middle, or you could use your markers or your blending markers, and you could go ahead and do the inside of the ears to make them look like bunny ears, and then just an eye, some eyes and a nose. So those punches are really great because you can use them for more than just the one thing. But let's go ahead and get going here. So I did want to, as I did on the card, go ahead and put my ladybug on this circle. I am going to go ahead and do that, and I'm using my silicone mat to put adhesive on here, and that is because with the silicone mat, should you get aggressive like I was getting there with the adhesive, you won't get adhesive on your surface here and then have to fight with it, because hot glue and adhesive and liquid glue will not stick on the silicone mat. And yes, of course, you can find it in my store at ritaspapermotif.com. So let's go ahead and put this ladybug right here, and then we have the wings, right? Let's go ahead and secure those wings as well. And especially now is a good thing to have this silicone mat, because obviously this little piece right here that we want adhesive on is very narrow, and we also don't want that all over the place. So it allows, the silicone mat allows us to be kind of natural with it, and then we can pick it up and we can make sure that there isn't any adhesive sticking out. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these wings on here. And you're probably thinking, okay, but a ladybug has dots. You are correct. And ladybug's wings are symmetrical, so we know that as well. Now here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and start putting this card together. I want to bring out that inside part because I want to decorate it. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this stamp, which is this stamp right here. I'm going to go ahead and ink it up in my memento. Make sure I get lots of ink on there. And I'm going to make sure that it stamps. So I saw that there were some of the dots maybe that needed more ink. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's going to be good now. And then I'm going to come over here and I am going to stamp my ladybug. I'm going to move this. I'm going to stamp my ladybug. Now, if I had moved this up, I could stamp it in the corner like I did on the other card. But since this is down, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it right here. Okay, we're going to give a moment for that ink to stick. And now we have that little ladybug. I am going to go ahead and close this memento so I don't stick my hand in it. But now we know that the ladybug should have a red or they're orangish sometimes, or they're even yellow sometimes. Body here. So we're going to take the body part from the stamp set, which is this right here. We're going to ink it up in real red. And I want to just make sure, we'll just use this little ladybug that we, okay, so I don't have enough ink on it. I didn't get it very straight. I was just making sure that there was ink all over. Okay, I'm going to turn it over. It's easier. When your head is so far back with the video, sometimes it's kind of hard to gauge. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it closer. Forgive me. Okay, and then there is the body of the ladybug. And so we're going to go ahead and put the inside of the card in. And we're also going to make sure that we have that as even as we can get it. And I like to look, try not to press it too much, because once you put this Stampin' Seal on, it's pretty much a done deal. All right, so I'm kind of measured it there, eyeballed it, and now I have the inside of my card. And so I could write my message right here, but we need to go ahead and finish the outside of the card. Now, because this card is kind of flat, I do want a little bit of elevation. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of this. And I know also that when our cards go through, when they get to the post office and they go through the whole process of getting to the recipient, they do go through a machine that can kind of squish things. So I'm just going to go ahead and be fairly generous with these dimensionals. Now, sometimes if you don't have dimensionals, you might have foam tape. So if that's what you have, then go ahead and use it. But dimensionals are so nice because you get 3 little cards of dimensionals in a package, and they come in the regular size dimensionals, which is what I'm using right now, and they also come in the mini or the smaller ones. So sometimes if the item that you're propping up with the dimensionals is smaller, then you would need the minis, right? And there is release paper. That's what I'm taking off now. It's kind of a waxy release paper, so that your dimensionals don't stick when they're in the package. But you do have to take them off, and they're double-sided. So let's go ahead and put this. I'm going to try to put it in the middle here. So we'll just stick it down. Now you can see that this these circles are elevated up, and it just gives some interest and some depth to your card. Now, I want to decorate that ladybug's wing. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, and we're going to remember that a ladybug's wings are symmetrical. So we want the same amount of dots on each side.